I know, this is a tech channel and, well, I know it's a car. I know that, but we need to talk about this. Okay, so I've got 3 YouTube channels. I've got this one, which is about tech, smartwatches, smartphones, headphones, that kind of thing. I have the Tech Diary, which is the same thing, but me just waffling on about stuff for one long take, which some people like and some people hate. And then I have the Next Drive, which is about cars. Now, you'd think, wouldn't you, that a video about the Ferrari Luce, which is their brand new EV, the first electric car they've ever made, and arguably one of the biggest and most important launches ever for that brand, would be on my car channel, wouldn't you? Well, that would make sense, but there's a massive link between the Luce and what I do here and what I talk about here. You probably know what that is or who that is, and it's really got me thinking. I've had a fair amount of time with this car in Rome over the weekend. I've touched it, I've smelt it, I've flicked all the switches and twisted the knobs and all that sort of stuff. I haven't driven it yet, I have to say that, but I've been there in the same room as it and felt it, and there's such a big link here. And I promise I won't make this a car, well, it is a car video, but I won't go into too much detail about the car. I just want to get you talking about it for the reasons that you watch this channel. And I promise this won't be a long video. Although this isn't a car review, I do need to go through the stats and the pricing for the Luce because they are pretty crazy. So it's got 1,050 horsepower roughly. It does 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 2.5 seconds and 0 to 200 in 6.8 seconds, which is fast. It has a top speed of over 310 kilometers an hour. It's got a 530 kilometer range, which is still being confirmed, but it's roughly that, and a 122 kilowatt hour battery. It has an 800 volt architecture, fast charging up to 350 kilowatts, and 4 electric motors, so 1 on each wheel. It also has paddles behind the wheel, which doesn't indicate that it has gears because it doesn't have gears, but they've introduced this new way of managing the torque from those motors. So the idea is that as you go into a corner, you pull the left paddle and that increases the engine braking, and then as you come out of the corner, you pull the right paddle and that increases the available it's been a long weekend, the available torque. So you can put your foot down and I guess it would feel a little bit like having gears rather than having one massive power curve that just comes out of nowhere, as is normally the case with EVs. This is turning into a car review. Stop it, Mark. 23-inch front wheels, 24-inch rear wheels. It has 5 seats, which is the first ever Ferrari to have 5 seats, and 60 plus new patents, which gives you an idea of who else is behind this car. The price, €550,000 and round about £440,000 in the UK. So it's expensive, it's got lots of silly stats, which are very impressive. But why does it matter to you? Well, to people who watch this channel. This is where things get really interesting because normally Ferrari does everything. They design the cars, they manufacture them, market them, sell them, etc. And they're still doing most of that with the Luce. But the one thing they handed over to a third party for the first time ever was the design. And the third party they brought in was Love From, or is Love From. They're still involved now, obviously. If you weren't aware, Love From is a company started by Mark Newson, who's a very famous designer, and a guy called Johnny Ive. Now, Johnny Ive, you may remember, worked at Apple for quite a long time, and he designed quite a few important products, many of which I cover regularly on this channel. There's the link for you. And yeah, Ferrari gave Love From this brief and said, we want you to help us design this EV, our first ever electric vehicle. Now, Johnny Ive unfortunately couldn't be at the launch, but Mark Newson was. We had a little round table with him. Lovely guy, very open to questions. And what came across immediately was that he and Johnny are petrol heads. They've got classic Ferraris. They are completely aware of the heritage. Even if you're not into cars, I don't need to explain what Ferrari is and what it means to people across the world. You know, it's poster stuff. It's the posters that you put on your wall as a kid. I fell in love with Ferraris when I was a young kid, and it's one of the reasons I love cars so much. The heritage there is just mind-boggling, and you don't mess with it at all. In Italy, Ferrari is like it's woven into the society there. It's so important. So to come in and be told that you've got to design their next car, I wouldn't want that job. But Newson and Ive are both petrol heads, so they get that part of it. They also did loads of research on existing EVs, and they came to the conclusion that they weren't very good. And the main reason for that is that a lot of the driving experience and the tactility, the tactile nature of interacting with the car, it's been removed, it's been abstracted. It's been put into these massive touchscreens where you have to fight through menus to find how to turn the windscreen wipers on. It's ridiculous and at times dangerous. Now, I've reviewed loads of these cars for the next drive, and as exciting as some of them are in terms of acceleration, everything else has been abstracted away, and it's the Tesla effect. And no matter what you think about Tesla, whether you like them or you don't like them, you can't argue that they've kind of marched ahead with this thing of removing stuff from the car interior. So that was something that Love From immediately wanted to set right with the Luce. That is incredibly reassuring, and it has resulted in something which is, well, I'll come on to that in a second. The other thing that was fascinating about this launch is that it was the most under wraps and tightly controlled in terms of leaks launch ever. All of the footage that you're seeing of me walking around the car, that's done by Ferrari's team. They had a very good video team on site, which made my life a bit easier, but it was a very, very tight launch, which reminds you of something, doesn't it? Apple. It was like an Apple event in that respect. The other thing, which I can't show you because I couldn't film it, was the kind of ambiance in the launch event itself, and the room layout, the stands that they had with the components of the car on, and the lighting and the graphics and all this stuff. That was incredibly reminiscent of stuff that Johnny Ive has done in the past. Really reminiscent of it. And walking around that room, I wish I could show you this. Maybe Ferrari will show off some of this stuff at some point, but trust me, that room was incredibly Johnny Ive, as is the best part of this car, which is the interior and, most importantly, the switchgear. Just very quickly, the exterior. Now, this video is going live a fair bit after the embargo, so lots of other people have got their videos out, and that's given me the benefit of, one, thinking a bit more about this thing, and two, reading the comments on other people's videos, and they're quite brutal. I'm not surprised. I don't think Ferrari or Love From would be that surprised, because this is such a departure. It's such a big change in design philosophy, and like I said a moment ago, bringing in a third party to do that design. It's huge, and they know that. They know they're going to get some stick about this. There are some positive comments out there, but there's a lot of negativity. My point with this is that, and again, because this isn't a car channel, I won't go into my thoughts completely on the design, apart from the fact that I did let it settle for a couple of days, because I spent time in a room with this thing and 30 minutes filming around it, but then the rest of the time, we could look at it and think about it, and it started to settle a bit. It's not my favorite looking Ferrari ever, obviously. I hope all future Ferraris don't go down this route, because it's very different and it's a bit jarring at first, but it starts to make sense. And then you step inside, and if you've got 550,000 euros sitting in your back pocket and you go and see one of these Luces and you're a little bit put off by the exterior, I think as soon as you sit in that cabin and start flicking the switches and the dials and things, you're going to fall in love with it pretty quickly. And I think if you're the sort of person who can spend that money without thinking about it, you will. I think it will convert a lot of people who aren't initially sold on the exterior. The interior, guys, when I say the interior, I mean the switchgear, all the controls and things. It's stunning. And it's not just the controls, it's the way that invoking those controls does things to the user interface and the animation on the dash and on the little swivelable, whatever you want to call it, that kind of control panel thing that you can turn around. It's all so fluid and really interactive and tactile and, again, very, very Apple. I can't stop saying that. It's impossible not to say it. But the interface, and this thing isn't, you can run CarPlay on it, you can run Android Auto on it as well if you want to, but it's running its own software, and the way that you can both use, for instance, the switches for the air conditioning and the heating controls, you can just use these little paddles that are they're beautiful. But you can also touch the screen, and it's all so responsive. And it does that thing where the animation bounces a bit when it hits a ceiling. And the launch control thing. I didn't get any footage of this, but there's a launch control like kind of thing lever that you pull it down, and it kind of slowly goes back up into the roof, and all of the dials turn a different color, and it's got a mechanical clock. It's got buttons and things everywhere. And as someone who loves cars and who has really not enjoyed the Tesla-ification of every new car, and certainly EVs, the Luce is such a departure in the right way. It's stunning. In the interior is just absolutely stunning. I love that 3-spoke steering wheel. I love the drive selector, the paddles. The feel of those paddles is just unbelievable. I knew I'd forget something: the sound. So EVs don't make any kind of sound because they don't have an engine. That's not good enough for Ferrari, because that's a massive part of the ownership experience and the driving experience for Ferrari people. What they've done is they've put an accelerometer on the rear axle, which picks up relatively tiny, normally inaudible sounds that the car makes with the motors and all that sort of stuff, all the spinning and things that happen beneath your feet. And they've amplified it like an electric guitar. That's smart. And also, it sounds awesome. I can't play you it because I don't have the audio, but it does sound really cool. And it's something which, in theory, should add to the driving experience. And again, it's something that is, well, it's thinking different. I'm going to stop here because this is it's becoming a car review. But the one thing I can't get out of my mind with the Luce is that it's so intrinsically tied to Johnny Ive, and by association, that means it's tied to Apple. And if you are an Apple person, I think this car is going to make you think all sorts of things and make you wonder about what's happened leading up to this. And this is what I want to kind of get your opinion on. What does it make you think of, the Luce? Would you buy one if you had £500,000? I haven't. If you had that money, would you buy one? I don't know if I would. But then if I had that money and it was throwaway money, and I sat in that cockpit, and it does feel like a cockpit, I think I'd have to buy one. Guys, get involved in the comments. Thank you for watching this. This isn't a regular Mark Ellis Reviews video, but I wanted to put it on here because it just seemed like the most obvious the most obvious channel for starters to put the Luce on. One day, hopefully, I'll drive it and that will go on to the next drive. But yeah, get involved down there. I'll see you down there. Oh, and if you haven't hit subscribe yet, you know what to do.